The atmosphere in the Sterling Mansion's dining room was thicker than usual today. Thanksgiving was supposed to be a time for gratitude, but this year it was merely a thin veneer covering financial anxiety. The flickering candlelight on the silver cutlery could not conceal the tension radiating from the head of the table where my older sister Victoria sat. Victoria, the CEO of Apex Nova Dynamics, was the family darling. Our parents always believed she had inherited Dad's business instincts entirely. As for me, Vivian, 31, the only one with an MBA from Wharton who chose to run a tiny asset consulting firm, I was just a sweet little hobbyist. I'm serious, Vivian, Victoria continued, sipping an expensive wine. She pointed straight at me, completely ignoring the executive team sitting around. While Dad and I are facing the biggest financial crisis in a decade, you're still playing with your municipal bond investments. You're dabbling with a $200,000 seed fund isn't helping with Sterling Group's $300 million debt problem. Victoria paused, but the aggressive tilt of her chin couldn't hide a flicker of panic, especially not after my recent expansion failed to secure the necessary long-term capital. My father, Robert Sterling, the director of the Sterling Holdings real estate empire, sighed. He had visibly aged in the past 6 months. His company, the family's financial pillar, was struggling with maturing debts that could not be refinanced. Everyone should know Victoria has worked tirelessly, my mother Eleanor quickly added. She tried to renegotiate with Coveney Bank to extend our largest mortgage, but they refused. If we don't find someone to acquire the debt before the end of the year, we'll lose the entire group. It's truly a shame, my brother-in-law Mark interjected with a smirk. A shame that not everyone has the capacity to make the bold decisions necessary to save an empire. Some people are simply good at playing it safe. I calmly wiped my mouth with the napkin, keeping my expression perfectly blank. I understand the company's situation is very serious. You understand? Victoria scoffed. Vivian, with all due respect, you might be good with data analysis, but you don't understand the real game. This is a fight for survival. I'm negotiating with sharks who want to tear Dad apart. Meanwhile, you're trading shares in a local bakery. Do you have a solution? A little trick from your MBA textbooks, perhaps? Marcus, Victoria's CFO, spoke up. We are desperately looking for a private equity fund, a distressed debt firm, anyone with enough capital to acquire Coveney's debt portfolio. But no one dares touch it. The risk level is too high. The entire table looked at me with pity. My father gazed at me with weariness, as if he had accepted that I was not the savior. Such a pity, Victoria murmured, loud enough for everyone to hear. She has a prestigious degree, but she lacks the decisiveness to act when needed. That's always been your problem, Vivian. You think too much and do too little. I took a sip of water. Maybe so. I let their sarcasm pass, continuing to enjoy my dinner. Suddenly, my phone vibrated. I took it out to silence it, but the caller ID made me pause. Mr. Alistair Finch, partner, the Ascendant Fund. It wasn't the call I was waiting for, but it confirmed the information my contact, Sarah, had given me 2 weeks ago. Coveney was finally pulling the trigger. I stood up from the table, walked into my father's study, and closed the door. Miss Sterling, I've been trying to reach you for 20 minutes. Alistair Finch's voice on the other end was hurried, tense. He was a senior partner at one of the world's largest distressed debt funds and a direct competitor in the Coveney debt deal. We have a problem regarding the Coveney Bank debt portfolio transaction. What problem? I asked, my voice calm to the point of coldness. The order to acquire the entirety of Coveney's commercial real estate loan portfolio was executed this morning, as you requested. A total value of $300 million. But only after the deal closed did we realize that the largest mortgage, the one for Sterling Holdings, had been separated and sold privately. I took a deep breath. And who acquired that debt, Alistair? That's what's driving us mad. It wasn't us, nor Blackwood or Apollo. It was acquired by a private investment firm, a newly formed hedge fund, VS Asset Management. The total value is about $180 million purchased at a 20% discount. $180 million, that was the mortgage debt on all of Dad's commercial properties, including this mansion. And who runs VS Asset Management? I asked, although I already knew the answer. They are not public, but I just received an email from their legal counsel. They are the new creditor of Sterling Holdings. They are demanding an urgent meeting to determine the debt restructuring terms. Do you know anything about this company, Vivian? Who is behind this VS fund? I am. Alistair, I said. VS stands for Vivian Sterling. I'll call you tomorrow. Thank you for the update. I hung up, standing silently for a few seconds, feeling the shift in the air. I walked back into the dining room. Victoria was enthusiastically explaining to Marcus, the CFO, that they needed to find a new investor immediately to avoid foreclosure by Coveney Bank. I don't understand why some distressed debt firm doesn't see the opportunity here, Victoria grumbled. This is prime Manhattan real estate. It just takes real vision. Just then, the front door burst open. Not Amanda, but David, Victoria's chief counsel. He rushed in, his face pale, holding a glowing phone. I apologize for the interruption, David said, his voice trembling. Victoria, we have a new creditor. They just sent an email notification. What? Coveney sold? To whom? Blackwood? Apollo? Victoria jumped up. This is a disaster. We have to renegotiate immediately. Not a disaster, Victoria, but complicated. The debt was acquired by a new fund called VS Asset Management. They are requesting a meeting to restructure the debt. VS Asset Management? My father frowned. Which company is that? A small new fund? The fund is not small, Mr. Sterling, David said. He stared intently at his phone screen, then slowly looked up at me, astonishment on his face. The key shareholder information has just been disclosed. The sole founder and owner of VS Asset Management is Vivian Sterling. The room fell into complete silence. All eyes turned to me. Victoria stammered, her face turning from furious red to horrifying white. What? What? You? That's impossible. You don't have enough capital. That fund bought $180 million in debt. You only play with index funds. I smiled gently. Victoria, remember when you asked what I did with the $2 million inheritance from Grandma? 7 years ago, I didn't just invest in stocks. I founded a private investment fund specializing in distressed debt and problematic real estate. I didn't need to advertise or make a fuss. I just needed to work. $180 million, Marcus repeated, his voice hollow. Vivian, your total assets. How much is it? Apex Nova is just a small part of that, I said, looking at Victoria. I sold my shares in your company a long time ago. Dad, I spent 9 years building my investment portfolio, focusing on undervalued assets and troubled debt overseas. VS Asset Management currently manages assets worth approximately $950 million. My father sank into his chair. My mother burst into tears. You are Dad's new creditor, Victoria whispered, her voice filled with betrayal. That's right, I confirmed. You spent years excluding me from every business meeting, every financial decision. You taught me that true wealth is created through bold action, not through arrogance. When Coveney refused to extend the mortgage and no one of their caliber could save Sterling Group, I acted. I acquired my parents' debt at a discount, right under the nose of all the major funds. I saved Sterling Group, but I also acquired it. You did this for revenge? Victoria hissed. Not revenge, I said, my voice turning sharp. I did it to save myself and to execute a lesson. You said I lacked the decisiveness to act. Now I am the one with the power to decide the future of you, Dad, and the Sterling Group. I looked at my father. He looked incredibly old. Vivian, I'm sorry I underestimated you. I was wrong. Now is not the time for apologies, I said. There are only business decisions left. I turned to David. David, arrange a meeting first thing tomorrow morning. I will present the restructuring terms. What terms? Victoria asked, her voice trembling. First, I will keep Sterling Group intact, but I will be the chairman of the board and the chief restructuring officer. Second, you, Victoria, will report directly to me and cut Apex Nova's operating costs by 50%. Or you can sell all your shares in the company to me at an agreed-upon price. Report to me? Victoria almost choked. That's the bold action. I repeated her words. Victoria, you let your arrogance cloud your judgment. I relied on diligence and data analysis. I proved my worth not with words, but with financial results. I stood up and grabbed my coat. I'm going home. I have some calls to make with the lawyers. From now on, if you and my parents want to talk business, arrange a formal meeting with VS Asset Management. Everything has changed. I left the dining room, walked out the side door, and got into my Honda. Sitting in that modest car, I opened my laptop. My account showed my total assets nearing the $1 billion mark. I received a text message from my father. Thank you, Vivian. Your mother and I would like to have dinner with you next week. No business talk. Just want to see our daughter. I smiled and replied, I'd be happy to. I started driving home. Finally, they saw my true value. Not through a lavish party, but through a cold, decisive action. An action that could only be carried out by an investor who didn't seek public recognition, who only cared about the bottom line. I had acquired the very people who had once scorned me. Not for the money, but to redefine my position. I am the one who controls the game.